So I never really understood people that used decimals instead of fractions. You got to draw a line somewhere. Otherwise, people are just going to think you're being irrational.
Or sometimes they don't get the point.
Ayo!
I love it.
It is. It's a good one. There it is.
Yeah. I was waiting for somebody else to back me up with it, but
I can't do it.
wanted to.
I can't do it now.
And I'm having
Can't do it
performance
now or
issues.
won't do it now.
No, with the way I record, if I do it, it's going to bring up a bunch of menus, and no one wants to see that. So I've lost my soundboard privileges.
Poor Larry.
Perfect.
I think I can disable those.
I would say we're typically more professional than this, but
We're
we
not.
are
No.
less
No.
professional, honestly.
no.
But
It's like a morning zoo radio show.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a bunch of dads. That's what we do. We derail a bunch, we go off topic, and then we somehow get the job done.
Welcome everyone to another episode of As Dad as It Gets, the podcast where the other guys get new toys and they take advantage of it.
Yay!
I am your host Larry, and with me today is John, Rick, and Tom, so full cast. But we do have a guest,
Hey.
and I'm excited about this one because my daughter just finished her dance recital like a week ago. So I've been waiting for this documentary to come out. So today we have, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name, Oliver Ortel.
You got it right. It's not
Okay.
how my dad says it, but it's how I say it.
Good job, Larry.
I've got the whole Southern education, so like I'm gonna mispronounce everything. So Oliver made an amazing documentary that I'm probably gonna watch tomorrow. But it's called Dancing Dads, and it's pretty much just a chronicle of a bunch of dads getting together and having a good time. It seems like.
Pretty much.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey to dadhood, fatherhood, daddom.
Well, okay. So my wife and I moved to Los Angeles some time ago. It was like 1997, to be honest. And we'd been married about a year at that point. And then, we'd been married about 5 years, and 9/11 happened. And my wife's family, there was a health scare in my wife's family. And at one point she just said, we were both feeling like doing something life-affirming, and positive. And she said, what if I told you I was ready to have a kid? And I said, I'd be so excited. And I think that answer surprised her. And not long after, we had our daughter. She was born in 2002. And very quickly, she became my entire world. So my daughter became my entire world. And just, I just wanted to be involved in every second of her life if I could. So when she started dancing, you just mentioned your daughter had her recital. It's that thrill of seeing your kid perform, and learning new things, and working in a group, and just seeing them grow up and become more than what they knew was possible. I don't know. It was all very exciting, and but then inevitably she turned, about 12, and she started to pull away like they do. Want to have a kid that old?
No, we don't.
No. Okay.
I think John's
yours
got
is so much fun headed your way.
I have an 8-year-old, so
Yeah.
I'm the closest.
Okay. Cherish these last 4 years. Definitely, they do come back. But she started to pull away, and I realized my buddy was no longer my little buddy, because she and I were super close, and we would be taking her to movies all the time. We'd go to the park. We'd do everything together. I would just teaching her to ride a bike. Just everything was just such a Oh, it was also important, and we were just tight. And now she's 12. She doesn't have that much interest in hanging out with dad anymore. And phone becomes more important because we had to get them a phone for, we had to drop them off at the dance. We had to drop her off at the dance studio, and then we had to get her a phone so she could text us to when to pick her up. That was weird to not be at the dance
All
studio.
right.
Okay, so I felt like I was rambling anyway.
You were talking about
Have you met us?
your daughter has a phone because you had to drop her off at dance and needed to know when to come pick her up.
Well, yeah, which was weird. When you first have to start dropping your kid off somewhere, they're like, they don't want you around, and your kid doesn't want you around, and the people running the place don't want you around, and it's just... Anyway, so when this dance studio offered this opportunity for dads to sign up to perform in a dance number in the recital, my first thought was, I'm never going to do this because I don't want to do that. I want to get up on stage and do that. But after a while, my daughter would start to, like, other dads would do it, and they actually looked really dumb, and it was actually kind of cool that they looked dumb. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
My daughter
Shows
would
their
start
dedication.
to, yeah, totally. My daughter would start to beg me to do it, and finally I gave in, and I said, "Fine, I'll do it. I'll do it. Just don't make fun of me." She said, "That's the whole point." So I did it.
That's when you come back with, so it's okay if I make fun of you for doing it, right?
Yeah, it never works that way. You can't bank
It
that
doesn't,
stuff.
no.
Like one time, my wife and daughter went to Chicago to visit family, and they got the flight dates mixed up and missed their flight. So I very calmly, my daughter was just a baby, so I very calmly got on the phone and called the airline and booked a new ticket and called my wife and said, "It's all taken care of. You were supposed to fly today, but now you're flying tomorrow. It's an even better flight." You can't bank that stuff, though, right? You'd think someday I would screw up and she'd be really cool about it. No, I'm kidding. She's actually really cool. But you know how it is. You can't bank that kind of thing.
Yep.
Anyway, so I signed up, and I had a really negative attitude about it, to be honest. I went in, and I'm like, I had done high school theater and some theater in college, and so I was always like, "You guys aren't taking it seriously. We're going to look like idiots. Like, wow, I don't want to be here. I don't know these people." By the end of it, I had so much fun that I ended up doing it again the next year. And the next year, I started talking more to the dads and getting to a sense of why they were doing it. And they all had their different reasons, and I thought, oh, there might be a documentary in this. So the third year I did it, I got them to agree to not look at the camera and to let me film them the entire process. And that's what I did. We filmed the whole rehearsal and the performance, and I went to their homes and saw them interacting with their kids. And that's essentially what the movie is.
So
fantastic.
When you first pitched the idea to the other dads, what was their initial reactions?
I thought it was a lot more receptive than I thought it would be. And kind of too, I thought I kind of pitched it a little bit as it's going to be a great record of this time in your life with your kid, and I think they were very open to, like, really excited about that idea. And now that they've seen the finished product, they've been really appreciative that it exists, a record of that time, because it was a few years ago. We did this all before the pandemic. We never could have done it during the pandemic, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they look back now, and their kids are grown up. My daughter just graduated college last month, and so we all kind of look back on this time fondly, and I don't know. They're glad it exists. And I gave them all I offered them all a free copy of the film because they should obviously have to.
Right.
Yeah.
They're in it.
Hey, I know you were in this
in.
movie, but you need to pay for a copy.
That's right. Listen, we only have so many to go around. No, but yeah.
Got to pay the bills.
Also, sign this consent form.
Yeah.
This NDA.
Yeah, because of all the dark secrets we had.
Hey, I believe it. A group of dance dads.
What happens?
You guys probably got.
It was honestly, everything. They're very open guys, and we didn't do anything. they were very willing to play and very willing to answer my questions, and I was very pleased about that. And now I'm banned from using the word "very" because I've hit my quota.
You when you do audio things like this, like a podcast, you learn about verbal crutches a lot.
Oh, I'll bet.
Like
Yep.
is my verbal crutch, and I hate it so much.
You go through and edit out half the likes.
I try
Just
to.
keep it sounding natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before this, had you had any experience with film or video editing?
Yeah, I've made a few. I made several short films. I directed a web series that was 8 full episodes, and so I did that because the script itself for all the 8 episodes was about 90 pages, and I thought, okay, well, this would be like directing a feature. This would be great. But I'd never made a documentary before, and I wanted this. People are like, well, couldn't you just do this as a scripted sort of comedy thing? I'm like, yeah, but this, I wanted this to be real. I wanted people to see that it's real. And honestly, I want dads who might be hesitant to do this sort of thing to see how gratifying it can be.
Yeah.
In a way that's genuine and not. Of course, the guys in the movie liked it. They're in a movie. It was.
Yeah.
You said it's not going to be a comedy, but of course, there's a bunch of dads. It's going to be a comedy anyways.
There's gonna be
It kinda
a joke or
is.
two.
It's inevitable.
It kind
Bunch of dads dancing. There's going to be some laughing, some joking, some goofing.
Yeah.
And it's very lighthearted. It's as documentaries go. It's not. It's not. It's not anything it's not those serial killer things you see all the time. No, not at all.
The dancing dads.
In a world with dads dance.
Until they weren't.
No, it is very lighthearted, and it's there's laughs, and then hopefully it elicits some emotion. So hopefully people recognize some things that are familiar to them, and it's and yeah, it's a comedy. My wife pointed out to me that one of my favorite films of the past 30 years is The Full Monty. And
That's a good movie.
and she said, "You're making your Full Monty." I'm like, yeah, I guess it's kind of a G-rated version of it.
Yeah.
So nobody takes off anything. So,
Oh,
If you're hoping to elicit emotion, Larry will probably, at the very least, tear up.
Oh, I was just about to say I'm probably gonna cry watching it.
I didn't want to throw you all the way under the bus. But
No,
I was
I will ugly
Oh.
cry. Like my plan is to watch it tomorrow when my wife is at work, so that
dude.
Mark.
hey, you gotta let the wife see you cry.
she sees me
let her see
crying.
you
No,
She sees him cry all the time.
Oh, okay.
I am
She's
so
like, "Again?
emotional.
Oh my God."
Yeah.
But no, I cry at movies all the time. I mean, my wife actually. I'm mentioning my wife again. She just texted us today. It's like, do you guys want to go see Inside Out 2 for Father's Day? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sob, but yeah, I do want to do that.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Although honestly, for Father's Day, what people should do is rent Dancing Dads. Isn't that perfect?
That
It's-
is perfect.
I mean, and it's very reasonably priced. You can rent it. I think Google had it listed for $3.99 renting.
Yeah, I think that's Google. I can double check that now if you'd like. Yeah, Google Play has it. Amazon has it for $4.99, I believe. I keep the links on my phone, of course, but and then I
You
use
got
the app that has the links. Yeah, Google Play has it for $3.99 to rent or $12.99 to buy if you're so inclined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can. We could do a viewing party.
Do it, yeah, absolutely. I encourage it, and leave reviews. Even one line would be great, because then I get to hear what you thought of it. Even if you go, it sucked, 5 stars, that'd be great.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Worst movie ever. 5 stars.
Oh wait, actually, I do have a dad joke. I do have a dad joke about this.
All
Oh,
right.
there we
I
go.
didn't have a dad joke,
Go
but I do.
on.
If you enjoy the movie, refer it to all your friends. If you didn't, refer it to all your enemies.
It's a win-win.
There you go.
So,
The sheer subject matter. If you look at, I mean, I can certainly speak for my father. My father would have had nothing to do with anything like this.
Yeah.
I think it really shows, the progression of fatherhood throughout the generations. I don't know about your father, but I can probably guess he wouldn't have done the same.
I think if I had
But
been playing soccer or something, my dad would have been really into it, being a German immigrant. But other than that, I
well,
don't think he was.
yeah.
You know,
But
yeah,
dancing and everything isn't the manliest thing to do. But
yeah,
um, yeah, I think it just really shows, not that we're willing to do more for our kids, but what we're willing to do for connection, as
yeah.
opposed to previous generations. Like I said, my father would have danced with my sisters. He did dance with me at my wedding. He was not that was not an option that was given to him.
Good.
But yeah, so I think that just really is an excellent example of the evolution of fatherhood. Um, so I'm
I
really looking forward to seeing it.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, I agree with that point, and there's a couple of people in the movie that talk about the same thing, and they're not me; they're other people. So I'm glad that that came up. There, yeah, I just do think we live in a time where there's a lot of stuff going around right now about how when we were kids, they would actually have ads on TV saying it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kid is? I'm like 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. People wouldn't know where their kid is, or have you hugged your kid today?
Oh
Like,
God, I saw a commercial the other day. Um, I think it was Kansas or Mississippi, but they aired it in the 70s, and it was a reminder to give your kids affection. Like that was the ad. It was, hey, your kids are people too. Don't take your hard day out on them. Give them a hug and tell them you love them. So
Yeah.
that's our product. Why do you have to
Yeah.
advertise this?
So I think we've come a long way, definitely.
Yeah.
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
A message from Johnson and Johnson.
The more you
Yeah.
know. So for your
I mean,
dancing
so again, that's
history,
why I wanted to do this, and I also want to say dancing's not the only. This came up in a conversation the other day. It was like, "Oh, my dad never would have danced," and I'm like, "Yeah, nor would mine." But I don't want this movie to be exclusionary. I don't want it to be like, this is the only way to. There was a dad at the dance studio, whose daughter was at the dance studio, and her mom and sister and she were all here in LA while the dad was back in Minnesota working and paying for it, because he wanted her to have the opportunity to come out here in LA to do that. So I mean, I think that's an a greater sacrifice than
yeah,
Yeah.
getting on stage and looking like a fool. So there's any number of ways that dads are giving. It's just sometimes I wish we were in a society where we all felt more free to express that openly.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It seems more of a documentary about dads connecting rather than just dads dancing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the dancing's the vehicle, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a two-part question, like, can they pull off the dance, and does it bring them closer to their kids, more importantly,
Because like when my daughter started dancing, I mean, I've got no rhythm whatsoever. My go-to dance move is like what I call the Fat Man Shuffle. But
no, yeah.
it's I mean, now I'm learning about like plie and everything like that. So was it hard for you to get to learn all that?
Yeah, I think because we're all just a bunch of clunky middle-aged guys in this movie, right? There's 15 of us, and there's one guy who's better than the rest. You'll see him. He'll be happy to tell you he's better than the rest.
Always is.
Yeah. But it's really, once you overcome this idea of, you are going to look dumb, so just let go and have fun doing it. You worry less about you try to get it right. They're teaching us very basic things, and it's hard to get there for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a sequence in the movie. I don't know if I should even mention this. There's a sequence in the movie where, okay, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, there's a sequence in the movie where we learn in a very hard way, like, just how hard it is for us to do these moves, these very simple moves.
Ooh, did somebody go to the hospital?
Well, no, not
Okay.
that bad. But no, you'll see it. I don't.
Just wants death.
Younger female people show us up in a big way.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've got the knees of an 80-year-old, so the
Right,
entire dance for me would
pretty
just sound
strongly.
like bubble wrap.
When I was so I was watching the preview that you sent over earlier.
Yeah.
Before I hopped on here and started chatting with you. And one of the dads says, like, no, I did like sports in college, and like I thought I was going to be coordinated enough, and no, I wasn't, and that couldn't be more true. Like I played drum set in middle school and high school, a little bit in college, and like I can't dance, but let alone do a choreographed dance in time with 14 other people on a stage. Like I can't dance in the kitchen while I'm making food, or if I go out with friends. Like let alone like I don't have stage fright, so that wouldn't be an issue. But
You don't
I-
dance
I-
like no one's
stage fright.
watching.
I should. But no, I always dance like no one's watching, even if people are. That's
Okay.
just how I dance.
Yeah.
They
I
just meant
did
to be
junior
happy about
cotillion,
it.
and I can't even dance. So
I used to always say that, like, people, for me, it's different to learn a dance and perform it than it is to like be at a party or something, or even a high school dance and try to fast dance. Nobody ever really
Yeah.
taught us that. No, and everybody's always like, "Nah, don't worry about it. You're just having fun. Nobody's paying attention to you." But the minute you look like an idiot on a dance floor, people do like notice and they point it out. It's my personal belief. But
Mhm.
I always had I always thought it would be, like if you had a PE unit, right?
Mhm.
Where just for the boys, and they go, okay, we're going to go in the wrestling room, we're going to learn wrestling or whatever, right? And then you get in there and there's a choreographer going, okay, the dance is coming up and we're going to teach you guys how to fast dance. That's what I think we all need at that
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
We would all groan, and the person would be like, "No, seriously, get dancing."
When you leave this room, we were wrestling. That's what you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
You say whatever you want to say to hide your shame.
Well, and then you back it up with something like, "There's this dance. You're going with someone, probably. They are going to want you to know how to dance.
Yeah.
Kind of. At the very least, kind of.
So,
I was homeschooled, so no.
okay. They didn't have a homeschool prom.
We kind of did, but nobody wanted to go with me. I ended up having someone go with me to the 2 dances that we had, but
Oh,
So for this
probably more for pity.
so for this documentary, what do all the daughters think of it?
the ones that I have heard from are really excited about it. Yeah, I switched from very to really. See what I did there?
There you
I
go.
don't use
Love it.
very anymore. Now I'm using really. So they're really excited about it. They, I think some of them just dig that they're in a movie on Amazon, Google Play. I think that they like that they can tell their friends to go rent a movie that they're in. Some of them, my daughter is very proud of it. I went back to very. Daughter's super proud of it, and she's she's telling her friends, and she even for one of the festivals. I believe you guys interviewed Alan Shedlin. Is that right? Who did?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how
so
we
Alan
found out
referred
about
me
you.
to you,
Yeah.
and they, my film was in their festival, and we recorded a little, and it's on YouTube. My daughter and I recorded a little Q&A for each other about the movie.
That's cute.
My wife came up with this great idea. We'd pull questions out of a bowl and ask each other questions about the making of the movie. So, and they ran that before the film at the festival. So I thought that was really cute. And now it's on YouTube if anybody wants to see it. So yeah, you can see she's glad it exists, my daughter, and she's also really glad she has a record of that time of her life and our relationship. And I guess I have a bit of an advantage because I had all the home video of her as a baby, her as a little kid, her as a
Yeah.
So you'll see her in the first part of the movie. You'll essentially see her from babyhood to age 12, growing up a little bit, And I think she's gonna get a kick out of showing that to her kids someday.
Definitely.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Look what your grandpa did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had
You probably
something
can't
like
do anymore.
that from my dad, I would be showing my son as soon as he was old enough to understand. He's going to be 3 in, what's today? The 12th? 28 days.
Oh my gosh! Happy birthday to your son.
Thank you.
3.
Nice math, Tom.
I did the thing where months are 30 days and his birthday is the 10th. So I just subtracted 2 from 30.
Very
That
well.
was my understanding. There would be no math on this.
I mean, I told a math joke to start.
Yeah,
So
Tom's.
Yeah, that's true. I should have been prepared.
There's typically
ready.
not that much math.
no, not at all. There's typically no math.
Yeah.
We all picked decidedly non-math fields to go into. Well, more or less.
So for the
What else can I tell you?
the film festival, because we had recorded something and then I have yet to edit it because I procrastinate and everything. I started
Isn't it like an
editing.
hour and a half too long too?
Yeah, it was way too long also. But for the film festival, what was that like for you?
I've done a few. The Daddying Film Festival, or D3F, Allen's Festival, was just lovely. You know, it was in Albuquerque, and now they've moved it to Philadelphia, so
Yeah.
they're going to be doing it there from now on. But the first one was in Albuquerque, so I actually flew out there, and my daughter's first preschool teacher lives in Albuquerque. So she came for the screening, which was amazing. And she and I ended up hanging out the rest of the night, grabbed dinner, and walked around Albuquerque. She showed me some things. You know, I think you could see a lot of Albuquerque in a little bit of time. Yeah, so that was really fun. One of my editors, dad's lives there, and so he came, and so we had like a nice friendly audience, and it's always fun to see the movie on a big screen with people reacting to it. First time we had that experience was at the Pasadena International Film Festival, which is an amazing festival also. And they just did it at a local, like Daddying Film Festival was at an art center in Albuquerque, whereas the Pasadena Festival was at a local multiplex. And putting it on a screen, the same screen where I saw, James Bond movies and Marvel movies and things like that, and just seeing it on that big sparkling screen with all the sound and about 100 people in the audience was so thrilling. It was such it just changed the experience for me. Now, right when you think, because by the time you get to the point where you're exhibiting it, you've seen it hundreds of times, right? You've been through it over and over again, and it just made it all new again, and it was really exciting.
Do you ever get
pretty amazing seeing everything you worked so hard for, being presented in such a manner?
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine it in advance, right? And it's hard to imagine that like you've got an audience that's mostly strangers. Yes, you have a lot of friends there, friends and family come to support you, but there were a lot of strangers, people I had never met that were in the festival with other films or told their friends about it or whatever. And to hear the audience just riding everything, every joke or every emotional moment that you hoped would work, hear them responding to it the way you hoped they would, it's exciting. It's really cool. It's a really cool feeling.
Does it like, because it would stress me out having the audience there, because when I do a podcast, I just edit it and throw it out.
Yeah,
we're not in people's cars or gyms or wherever with them while they're listening.
Are we not doing that anymore?
But
I'm not.
Get the memo.
That's why George's listenership has dropped.
that's true. But
We
so
were promised more Tom.
for you, did you get in your own head or like stress out any having the people there?
I think you do hold your breath a little bit until you hear that first laugh.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of performance in the past. I used to do improv in Chicago and in LA, and so I feel like I did learn how to how to get some kind of response from an audience. And I also learned to not expect, the exact reaction that you think you're going to get.
Yeah.
Just by doing that, it's like you just kind of roll with whatever they give you. And
That's got to be a really helpful but difficult lesson to learn.
yeah, I tell you, it's a lot easier when you're on a stage in front of 20 people in a little bar in Chicago than it is if you're in a theater full of 100 people. You're like, okay, these 20 people didn't like my joke. It fell flat. I got 2 seconds to come up with a better one. And then you do.
You can make adjustments.
Yeah, exactly.
You can make adjustments on the TV screen.
Just that, yeah, right. That opportunity to learn and fail, in a small setting before you try to go bigger is really useful.
I am curious. When you said you're the one that's videotaping everything and you edit it, I'm assuming. How often did you have to cut out segments where a dad just kind of did the whole office, just glanced at the camera for a moment?
The Jimmy Fallon, I'm going to look at the camera and laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like the
we
quick
definitely
little
have
nervous
those.
glance or stuff like that, or made a joke and just deliberately looked at you.
Yeah, we had plenty of those. That was probably the most common thing that they did when they broke the rule about not looking at the camera. But generally, they were pretty good. Like I could be, I had somebody when we were doing the rehearsals, for example. I had to be in the rehearsals learning the dance because I'm one of the dads. So I had somebody holding the camera, and she kept a distance usually, but every so often when we were between learning things, I would just race over to her, grab the camera. I would get right up in their faces. And they did a really good job of not looking in the lens for the most part. So I didn't have to do a ton of that. I think one of the hardest things that I had to do was resist the temptation to cut out my screw ups.
I can imagine.
Real.
It's like because you're editing your film and you want to make yourself look good, but then you also want to keep it realistic and be like, no, I do mess up.
Yeah. I think the thing that I did for myself more than anything was, I don't know if you noticed, but when I talk, my eyebrows pop up and down quite a lot. Your listeners won't see that, but they do. And so I was like, that's just so distracting. So I would try, whenever my eyebrows started popping up and down too much, I would cut away. Just because I wanted people to hear what I was saying. But yeah, no, you're right. You're very tempted to go, I can make myself look good here, but I got to keep it real. And it's not fair to the other dads if I'm
going to include all of the times they messed up, but none of the times that I did.
And there's a moment where
every time
somebody asks my daughter, what'd you think of your dad? And she's like, yeah, he did really good, except when he messed up. So once she said that, I'm like, oh, now I got to keep mess ups in for sure.
Edit that part
She's
out.
not shy about giving me a hard time either. I love it, actually. When I turned 50, yes, I'm over 50. When I turned 50, my wife threw me a big birthday party that was a roast. Like you see
that's
on
cool.
TV Central, those roasts. So she had all my friends come roast me, and my daughter roasted me, and she was just 16 at the time. She was merciless.
Oh dear.
She was just so.
They've got that kind of humor at that age where they just like pinpoint whatever you're most insecure and fragile about, and then they target it and they won't stop.
But even just last week, my daughter still, sticks it to me. Like I had a milkshake. We went somewhere and came back with milkshakes, and you get to the bottom of a milkshake, you don't want to waste a single drop, right? So I did the whole. Maybe I did it a little too long, and so she just goes, "Was it good?" I was like, "Oh my god, you just cut me down to size. You just really
delicious
called me out."
And that's when you look them right in the eye and just continue to do it.
Yeah, right. It's excellent, thank you, and I'm going to keep sucking it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. But no, she's great. I was so proud when she was just tearing into me at that roast. I was like, this is the first time some of my friends are meeting my daughter, and that's what they're getting. And I'm just so excited about it.
I love it.
She started with, the thing about my dad is he really wants to be cool. And I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
Oh no.
No.
I want to do
record scratch. That's me.
Yeah.
You're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure everybody
No,
here is going
listen,
to
I
be the cool
recommend
dad.
if you can have somebody throw you a roast, I highly recommend it. It's a unique experience, and of course, you get to do a speech at the end going after everybody else. So
Yeah.
you know, it's fun, but you just feel because they're all if they're all doing it from a place of love, it's really one of the greatest birthday parties I've ever had.
That's awesome.
I'll send everyone invites to my roast whenever it happens.
Yeah,
Going to happen the second we stop recording, probably.
So you just have the one daughter, or do you have?
yeah,
any
just
other?
have the one. Yeah,
Okay.
she's legally an adult now. No, actually,
Cool.
it's I said they come back to you. They really do. They pull away. They have their teen years. It's a special kind of misery, and then they come back, and suddenly she's all cool again, and we're she's out of college. She's got her job. She's got her direction, and she actually likes being around us, and we're having a great time with her again. It's one. I mean, she and my wife never really fell out, but
Yeah.
I'm a dad. I'm supposed to just accept that. Okay, for a while, I'm the least cool thing in the world, right?
Yeah, and then you embrace it.
Yeah,
And then
just when you get used to it,
lean
they
into
come
the
back to you.
uncool. Yeah.
I've never been cool, so I embrace the uncoolness. But my daughter thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
Which she's 4.
Which is why you hang out with us.
I mean, she's.
You rounded up some nerds.
But,
if you had any advice for newer dads or dads with younger kids, like ages where their kid would start doing like dance or something like that, do you have any advice for kind of narrowing that down with the enormous amount and continuing to grow list of things of what kids are able to do for those parents?
I can tell you what worked with my kid. She took gymnastics for a while, decided she didn't like it, and wanted to quit. And I said, and she was doing dance at the same time. I said, you can't just quit just because you had one class you didn't like or whatever. I'm like, would you quit dance if you? She's like, well, no, I love dance. I'm like, okay, let's quit gymnastics. So there's that. She wasn't going to quit the thing she loved, and she genuinely didn't care about the other thing. So I wasn't going to make her keep doing it. But the other thing that I would say, and this comes out in the movie too, is just meet them where they are. Don't make them meet you. Like they, whatever they're into, like do that with them, because it's so much more interesting to find out what they love and what they're in, what excites them, and then go, okay, let's do that together. You'll definitely get more time and excitement from them about you being there.
Yeah, definitely.
I would like to do an add-on to that question, which is, was it always just dance and gymnastics, or were there other activities that she trial and errored through before that, or was it pretty easy for her to lock those two down?
It was pretty. Once she fell in love with dance, that was it. I always had this fantasy that, like, oh yeah, we're gonna be in like karate class together or something like that. We're gonna be like the martial arts dad and daughter. It didn't happen. It was that and watching movies together. That was those dance, and like she was pretty quick to access like story, in terms of watching movies. So I would show her stuff that, I don't know, some people might consider a little old for her, like when she was 5, I showed her Back to the Future, and Marty McFly would swear, and I'd go, "Don't say that word," and she'd go, "Okay," and she would never would.
Been there,
When she was 10, this was the big exciting one for me. When she was 10, it was spring break, and I said, "I'm gonna show you Die Hard." But there's some things you need to know. That guy, who's the bad guy, he was Snape. Yes. All right. So you've seen Snape old, now you can see him young. In the 1980s, New York had a certain view of California. Touchscreen technology was new. All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But once they understand, once they have that context, by the end of it, my wife was out to dinner with friends, and she and I were just on the couch watching it, and she was spent. She was leaned back on the couch, sweaty, breathing, and she said, "That was a really good movie." I was so excited. I'm like, what did you like best? What was your favorite part? She said, when John and Al hugged at the end. And I was so proud because I'm like, you got it. It wasn't
Love it.
about the building blowing up. It was about the relationships. So
So for Dancing Dads, I think it'll, I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's like your way of finding the two things that you connected with your daughter with, which is dancing and movies, and combined it into one thing to create a unique experience that you and your daughter and other dads and their daughters that were in the movie will all share together, and they can share it with their kids, their friends, their family, and just their way of showing like the love that parents have for their children, and I mean, really, that's as dad as it gets. And that wraps up another episode of As Dad as It Gets. Thank you for tuning in. This episode was hosted, edited, and produced by me, Larry Sims. Co-hosted by Tom Flowers, John McDermott, and Rick Setzer. Special thanks to our guest, Oliver Ortel. And if you like this interview, be sure to check out his documentary, Dancing Dads. There will be links in the episode descriptions. If you want to be a guest on our show, if you have questions, or if you just want to connect with us, feel free to reach out via email at asdadasitgets@gmail.com or on Instagram at asdadasitgetspod. Thank you guys so much for listening, your support, your interaction, your feedback. We thrive on it. It feeds us, it keeps us going. So just keep on being awesome. And until next time, stay cool. I did hear something about Die Hard that it's not a Christmas movie, it's a Harry Potter movie, because a group of people are hiding from Snape and crawling around at night and stuff like that.